Profit Blueprint mini course, and tonight we're talking about doing a feasibility analysis, preparing a program, a renovation program, and actually negotiating the purchase of a property. So I just wanted to go through the process just to be really clear, because this is a bit tricky. It's a bit of what comes first, the egg or the chicken. So I just wanted to explain how I deal with it. So this is a flow chart to show you the workflow for this section of the process. Now, it can be a juggling act, especially if the market is moving quickly, but especially in the beginning, it's essential that you work through.
So, sorry, Bernadette. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yep.
Bernadette?
Yep.
Sorry, but I can't see your screen. I'm not sure about anyone else, but I can't see your screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, it's come up now. Yep. Excellent.
Okay. So we're on the, so this is a flow chart really explaining the process at this stage. So last week we were down here, we identified a property and we identified the potential in it. So basically where we're at now is we have a list of things that we've identified, or changes that we want to make that we've identified in the property that are going to add value and are going to be our means of making a profit. From that, we need to establish a budget and a program so that we can work out whether the deal is feasible. Now, if we decide that it's feasible, then we move on to the next stage, which is negotiate the purchase and start working on the sort of firming up getting drawings done, firming up the budget, firming up the program, and getting ready to move forward. But if it's not, then it's out here and back to looking for properties. Now, the thing is, there's a couple of ways you can approach this. Now, as far as actually buying the property is concerned, because if the market's fairly hot, you sometimes don't really have a lot of time to do all the stuff that you need to do. So this is probably a high pressure part of the process. So back here, we've basically got our drawing on the back of an envelope back here. So it needs to be a little bit more refined than that, but from that, we're going to move into the next stage. So we want to try and get an offer in and get the property secured as soon as we can. But we want to do that without putting ourselves at risk. Now, I like to do this part and have worked it out before I go into making an offer. When you make an offer on a property, unless it's you're buying it at auction, you have a period of cooling off afterwards, in which time you can actually do your apply for your finance and do your due diligence, complete your due diligence on the property, the things actually that you have to spend money on, because you don't want to be spending a lot of money on a property that you're not sure that you're going to get. So what you can do is make an offer and pay a holding deposit with that offer, and so you actually sign a contract and exchange, but then you have 5 days to cool off. Now, if you do cool off, now holding deposits usually 0.25%. If you do cool off, you lose that. And if you don't, well and good, it comes off the rest of the deposit. Now, but if you don't pay that holding deposit, basically you're open to other people coming in and making offers and gazumping you, basically. So it's a bit of a risk at that point what you do, but I personally think that from my point of view, I prefer to pay the deposit. It's a couple of $1,000s, but it means that you have actually got the property. Otherwise, it's a bit tricky. Anyhow, so I'll move in. Is that relatively clear? Does anyone have any questions about that? Okay, well, look, I'll move on, and you may think of something a bit further along. Okay, so we're into the feasibility, working out whether this deal is going to work. And it's not a place for creativity. This is where you need to find your inner bean counter. No shortcuts allowed. We actually have a set of Excel spreadsheets that we use to do this. And so it's a pretty straightforward process. It's just quite time consuming because you want to make sure you capture as much detail as you are going to be doing in the project so that you've costed it and you're pretty clear about what your costs really are. So the task at hand is to do a complete costing and figure out if the deal works. If you have to be creative to get it to work, then it's not a deal to progress with. So what you need to do is take your renovation plan for the property and cost it. So you absolutely have to have a good handle on your costs before you purchase. There are specialists that you can call in to establish the scope and the budget, but you're probably not going to want to spend a lot of money before you know that it's yours. So basically what I do is go through the property room by room with my plan of what I've said I want to do, and just make a list of every single thing that needs to be done in that room. And then you go outside and do the same thing, every area outside. So you end up with a huge list of tasks, construction tasks, and then you break them down into trades because unlike the block, renovating room by room is a very time consuming and uneconomical way to do it. So you're way better to consolidate the work and approach it as a whole project. So for instance, you may be, like this is pretty obvious, but changing all the power points and the lights and light fittings and the light switches. So you would put all the electrician's work on one scope of work so that when he comes in to quote, he's quoting on everything. Okay, so you can actually, once you've had a bit of practice at this, you can actually estimate, but first up, you need to be getting quotes on everything. Now, it's not like you have to get 3 quotes on everything when you're preparing your budget. You just need to know that you are covered. Now, Archicenter has a renovation price guide, which gives you an indication of what each trade will cost. But as I say, I really recommend getting quotes. I find that price guide is quite broad, and also a lot of cases it's quite, well, certainly for Sydney, the prices are quite low. So it's a matter of getting access to the property for a window of time to get your trades to meet you on site to quote. You may find that you have trouble getting them to come to a property that you don't own. So the way around that is to actually offer to pay them an hourly rate to act so that they will give you some serious time so that the information you're getting is reliable. And the way to deal with that is when, just work it out with them that if they get the job, then it comes off the price that they quote you for the job. So once they've done a few jobs for you, that won't be necessary once they know that you're an ongoing renovator, but in the first instance, that's what we do. So make sure when you're getting the quotes that you establish with them who's supplying the materials, whether it's they are or you are, and who's removing the rubbish and making good. Making good can cost you a lot of money, so you need to make sure that that's covered. For instance, if you need to do extensive electrical rewiring, it'll require the removal of plasterboard. It may even mean removing of tiles, and the electrician doesn't put it back, so they just leave it how it is. So unless you factor this into your program, it adds time and cost to the renovation. So if you're new to this, you'll need to discuss timeframes with your trades to help you prepare your program. Also, allow for some day labour. There are always odd jobs that crop up that you haven't got covered, and you need some money set aside to pay a labourer to come and do them.
Bernadette, sorry.
Yes. Yep.
Bernadette, sorry,
Yes.
can I interrupt you for a minute?
Yep.
Vanessa's got a question here. She's not clear on what making good means.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I can't see that. So, Vanessa, making good is it's say like in the example of an electrician, he will cut open a wall to get to the wiring, okay, but he won't patch it up. So he will go. Well, he may do, but generally speaking, on a site like that, they won't allow to patch it up because they think someone's coming behind them to, like a plasterer, to to do the repair of the wall. So you need to make it really well. You need to get clear with them whether they're doing it or whether you need to allow to do that. And if you need to allow to do it, it's just a matter of coordinating your trades so that that trade comes in after the electrician or whoever it is to actually make good the wall. So is that clear? Great. Thanks, Vanessa. Okay, so you also need to allow for safety requirements such as temporary fencing and scaffolding is another thing that I allow for because, particularly, well, you won't need it if the property is not two-storey, but if the property is a two-storey property, you don't want every trade charging you for scaffolding. So the best way to deal with it is to actually hire the scaffold yourself and for the period of time that it's needed, and then they all use it, and then when they've gone, you take it away. That way you only pay for it once.